All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, Sushi Friday, NQ trading. Well, let's recap here. So, yesterday we have right off the open a sell off right off the open. The opening print pretty much marks the session high for the day. NQ comes, retraces, I believe it was about 50% of this Tuesday low up into Wednesday high move. Let's just verify that really quick. It was right into that fib buy zone. We were talking about it yesterday in the trading mentorship group. So let's take a look here so we can see price pretty, yeah, right in the middle of that 50 to 61%. That's what I call the fib buy zone. Now, if you were with us in the stream yesterday, what we were talking about was the fact that that was also last week's high as well as last week's volume point of control. So you have a bit of a structure kind of build out there intraday, and then we see buyers step in into the close. You have a reclaim and a close above the 25,250. That was one of the key areas that we were focused on during yesterday's session because it essentially marks the structure high. This kind of 4 to 5 day range that we had going. The high of that structure is right near 250. So we close above during the overnight session. We have a little bit more of a push, and then price comes in and retests 250 again before bouncing. Now, a couple of things here. Yesterday was an inside day. So that's going to be my primary focus for today's session. I want to see how price responds to yesterday's inside day. And the rule of thumb with an inside day is to trade in the direction that the inside day breaks in. So if price breaks, in this case, the prior day high, and you see acceptance above that prior day high, then the focus is for a continuation move, and vice versa with the prior day low. So that's going to be my number one focus. I'll also be looking at how price responds to 25,250 if we get back into that area. Although this level of interest is it's right in the middle of yesterday's range. So I'd rather place my attention on the edge points of yesterday's range rather than 250 for this morning. And that's going to be the game plan. We did have some economic data scheduled for today. However, I would not expect that to be coming out given the government is still shut down. We do also have some Fed speak. So we did have a pretty nice move earlier this week on the back of some Fed speak. You always want to have that awareness of that Fed speak, who's speaking at what time, just so you're not caught off guard, right? It's not always market moving, but sometimes you can get a little bit of a move if one of the Fed speakers is saying something that was kind of unexpected. Here's our open. Here's that market open. Session volume point of controls right here at 316. We've got prior day close just beneath that 285. So there's pretty much going to be no gap this morning whatsoever. Let's see. Let's see how this intraday structure is going to build. It is Friday, right? I typically like to take it a bit slower on Friday. Don't want to be a hero for today. Don't want to try and make our week today. Whether you're nicely green, we want to work on preserving those profits for the week. And if you've had a tough week, then definitely don't want to try and make it all back on this last day of the week. That's my typical approach anyway. Fridays historically were always one of my worst days as a early developing trader. Here's NQ right into prior day high. So getting into prior day high right off the bat. We'll see how it's going to be treated. The level is 334. All right, so we're up and through prior day high for the time being. We want to see, can price actually hold above? Do we show acceptance above? Basically, do we see time spent above prior day high? You have ES up into the overnight high. So far that looks like just a look above the prior day high. Same with ES at the overnight high. Coming back in a session volume point of control, it's 316 area. Back in a prior day high, volume kind of tapered down a little. I'd like to see a little more volume near the open. You got ES back into session highs. All right, there's NQ, new high of day. Testing the overnight high. See how overnight high is going to be treated. There we go. It's a little better. It's a little bit nicer. Really, upside level is going to be the all-time high. 25, what is that, 395? Let's get a level thrown up right there. So we have it on the chart. Okay, there we go. So grabbed a little piece there. I'm actually all out. Sold too much at the highs right there. Meant to hold on to some runners. But that's that little micro higher low right near the reference point, right near the prior day high. Once I saw that 30-second hammer, I'm in there. You can see the entry. Scale out partials into highs just per my process, and then we try and hold for higher. I was just trimming some at 75, but I accidentally sold everything. So we're out of there. We'll watch for a re-entry. So far, there's an inside day break, and we want to see continued acceptance above prior day high. That's how I'm treating this. In the meantime, just getting that trade logged, getting everything entered into the journal. I like to do it nice and early. And Q kind of right back here at the overnight high. ES into session highs. Everything's strong this morning. RTY session highs, YM session highs. A little consolidation here near overnight high. I've not seen really a re-entry spot, so just sitting with my one trade this morning. So far, the day is young. Only 15 minutes into this thing. The day is young. There we go. NQ, fresh highs. And almost all-time highs. It's looking for something a little bit tighter there against that overnight high. Didn't really see it. Didn't really see what I wanted there, so pass. Just a reference point, Gabe. Solid ref point. I like to check out those long-term holds at all-time highs. That's a good feeling right there. So right now, just staying patient. We did the prior day high long. There's an inside day break. I did like the little structure there near overnight high, but I did not see exactly what I wanted for an entry. So passed on that kind of. I don't even know if I would call it like a I mean, it's a spot for a re-entry, but I did not see the action I wanted right there. Nice day for your swing account. Heck yeah. Love it. Love it. Index or what? Index or individual names? Oh, you still have that ETF account? Nice. I think they're still the only prop that is doing swing accounts. I don't know if I've seen another. Lucid has swing when you're put into live. Nice. That's solid. All right, NQ starting to roll over a bit. Did not mark a fresh all-time high. Not yet, anyway. Not yeti. And we're 10 minutes till 10 a.m. 10 till 10. Back into prior day high. Back into PDH, prior day high. See how it's going to be treated. There's a spot that buyers need to hold here if there's going to be an inside day break. Can't have a failure at prior day high. Otherwise, what do we call that? That would be a failed break, right? And he said, throw that fib. Let's see it. The fibbler. There's fib buy zone. Fib buy zone doesn't mean anything if there's no buyer. Need a buyer. VWAPy. Yes, decent spot. You have RTY back in overnight high. You got ES back in overnight high as well. And let's see the time, 7 minutes till 10 a.m. We were scheduled for MCS at 10 a.m. Oh, we do have Fed's Goolsby speech 10 minutes ago or so. I've not, has that hit the feeds? That Fed speak? I don't see it. So that may still be pending. Look at that 30-minute. Big wick on the 30. See how that closes here. There's your hourly. $2 hour. You see that 30. ES little attempted bounce showed no follow through. Same with RTY. So we'll see if NQ cracks lower here. Cracks that 520 area. That's where that little intraday bounce was from, 520. Session volume, did that just shift? Session volume point of control 329. Do I use candlestick analysis in my trading? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Of course. NQ back in overnight high, 355. 5 minute breaker plus. I have no idea what that is. I have absolutely no idea what that is. No idea. I just see level on the chart. I see horizontal line that I like. I press buy. Very simple. Very, very simple approach on this end. But I stopped trying to be the smartest trader years and years ago. I just want the money in my bank. That's all I care about. That's it. Not the smartest analysis, not the best analysis. I don't care about any of that. Can I keep the lights on? Can I get the dollars into my bank account? Simple. This morning we talked about inside day break. So for me, the main watch is going to be prior day high, and you can see both the longs in the same area near the prior day high, which is at 334 on my chart here. See if we get a continuation into session highs as the target for this trade, but the trail is already at 345.5. So may get taken right here. There it is. Trailed out. 2 for 2 on the morning. 2 for 2 sitting pretty. So we did 40 points and then 30, so 70 on the morning already. Now NQ cracking lower, so we may have a failure inside day break failing. We'll see. Big uptick in volume. That's why I trail right there. That is why I trail. Good volume coming in. So if we see continued action here beneath prior day high, I'll look a little bit at 250 overnight low, level of interest right through there, but really would prefer to wait for prior day low. PDL. The full chart setup's here. I'll post a link for you. All right, 30 minutes into the sesh. How's everyone's morning so far? How we looking? How we doing? Personally, 2 for 2. We did both prior day high longs. I might just shut down the personal at this point and switch over to the props. Sitting on a pretty nice morning right now. Madi Cash, Chad Green. What's up, Chad? Long time, man. Rich Green. 2 more greens, 1 for 1. Solid. Gabe 0 for 1. All good. Sir. Nicole Green. So right now, while we wait for that structure to continue building out, what I'm doing is logging my second trade on the morning. Just kind of staying patient, letting the structure build. Not really the action I would want to see for an inside day break. Jacob, I have APT trading cash. RTY session lows. Let's see what else we got. YM session lows. All right, Gabe, good call, man. That's a good call right there. Have a good weekend, sir. We'll see you on Monday. That is a smart call. Take 1 loss on a Friday and just make the decision to shut it down to not spoil a week. I know that one well. I have very vivid memories of blowing a whole week on a Friday. Oh my goodness. Eventually looking back, you can just kind of laugh at it because it's like, man, silly me. Silly me, not thinking about the long term, not just making a decision to shut it down, to protect what I already had. Yeah. Eventually you learn. For some it takes longer than others. For me it took too long. But we got there eventually. Eventually. We developed the discipline, we developed the long-term focus. All right, NQ, that looks better. That looks better. I like it. Back in overnight high. So we talked about this sort of thing yesterday in the TMG. We'll look beneath, see if it shows any continuation, any follow through. If ES can break that 6,800, watch for the session high. So NQ, just a little compression right now between prior day high and overnight high. Look at your 5-minute. See this right here. This barcode. Barcode, no direction. Slowing down quite a bit. Oh, is this? Yeah, RTH all-time highs. And here was the level that we've been talking about all morning. Prior day high. See how yesterday's session is entirely within Wednesday's session. So that's an inside day. And with the inside day break, you want to see price holding outside of the edge points, either above the prior day high or beneath the prior day low. Buyers are definitely trying here. They're trying. They're trying to hold that thing. Can't say I'm personally participating with them right now. I got my piece, but we'll watch. We'll watch. I'm just looking Friday. I'm looking for low hanging fruit. Show me that low hanging fruit. A rejection there at overnight high. There's session volume point of control. Here's that prior day high again. NQ back in prior day's range. You got ES. Is that a session low on ES? Yeah, it's a session low on ES, RTY session low. So that early strength we saw across the board completely erased. Good volume coming in on NQ here. Let's see if NQ makes a new low day. So if we see that fresh low, I'll be watching near 250. It's kind of the next area I would look for some buying activity. Current location is a hands-off zone for me. All right, Nasdaq, no new low of day just yet. Back into prior day high. Right now, the structure is kind of stepping lower. Volume's holding on decently well. Not much of anything to work with here from my perspective. ES back in overnight high, and NQ right back here into prior day high. If I were to trade again today, I would either want to see a decent response down here at 250 or price breaking back up above overnight high, back up above this kind of intraday area right there here at 370, and then offering me some sort of retest, some sort of market structure based entry. It's kind of a game plan right now. There's overnight high on NASDAQ. If you like ES, keep an eye on 6,800 for ES. Nice work. That shows good discipline right there. Yeah, you use the lockout feature to your advantage. That's huge. It's a really good tool. All those lockout features built into the Project X platform. If you're on Project X and you're not using those things, that is a miss, if you ask me. Very good guardrails, and it's free. Free guardrails that you can use to protect yourself, protect your account, set drawdown limits, then lock yourself out of making any adjustments. So you can set the risk settings and then you can lock the risk settings so you can't make any changes. So NASDAQ, right back here between overnight high, prior day high, spending a lot of time in this area, as we can see by the volume point of control as well. All right, I'm gonna give it probably 10 more minutes, see if we get another setup, and I'm gonna call it an early Friday. This is already a nice morning in the personal account. Two longs, both from prior day high. So I did my job. I'm happy. Did what I needed to do. Got what I came here to get. It's like watching paint dry now. I was sticking around to see if we could get some action for the prop accounts. Got a couple of straight to funded Lucid accounts. But Fridays, typically, if you've been watching the streams for a while, Fridays I really like to be doing less. That comes from my options days. Decision fatigue's a very real thing on Friday. There's an old pit trader on Twitter. I forgot his name. What's his name? What is his name? Some old CME pit trader that I follow on Twitter. I'm trying to find him right now. Forgot his name, but he always says on Fridays in the pit, in the open outcry or pit back in the day. Anyone in the pit Friday afternoon, they called it the Losers Club because they were just trying to recover. They were just trying to recover their week. I was like, yeah, that is relatable. Been there before. Pax, that's his name. PAX. Yeah, here it is. I actually found the tweet. It says Friday afternoon in the NQ pit was called the Losers Club. The only people trading it late Friday are down money. If you struggled this week, do not make it worse. That's real right there. That is real. Wow, check out oil. Anyone trading oil overnight? Look at this. Oil down almost 3%. Monday and Friday are the culprits of failing accounts. Yeah, I would say that's pretty common. Monday's typically going to be a slower session. There's no economic data that comes out on Monday. Start the week is usually a little bit choppier, lower volume. We say like no news Monday pretty commonly. So that's not that surprising. And plus people are excited after the weekend. They're excited to get back to trading. And then Friday, you have the decision fatigue from the week. You're thinking about the weekly performance so far. You're wanting to either pad the stats a little bit or recover some of the damage that has been done, and typically it just compounds. Any advice on how to stop going on tilt? That's a tough one, man, because you got to look at what is the root of the tilt. I mean, there's so many different angles of tilt. I have a very large write up on tilt in the traders think tank. Let me post that really quick. But when it comes to tilt, the main thing you really want to look for is what's the first domino to fall? What's causing the unwind? And if you can kind of isolate that specific point and create some rules or some frameworks to help you avoid that issue, then you can get rid of it for the most part. Wouldn't say 100%. May still come back in the future, but you can really make good strides to get rid of it. And then the other thing is, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, set the guardrails. Like if you're using Top Step or using any prop firm that has Project X, and actually even Tradeovate for that matter, all of these brokers have daily and weekly. I know Tradeovate has weekly. I'm not 100% sure that Project X has weekly, but they have lockout features, and got to use those things. Got to use those tools. It's not so the counter argument is always like it's a little, I think it's a little silly. But the counter argument is always like, "Oh, I should have the discipline to not need to lock myself out. I should be able to do it on my own." And it's like, yeah, that's great. I agree with you, but the reality is that most people do not have that. And so while you're working on developing that skill set, use the lockout feature. Just use it. You use the max drawdown, use the max weekly drawdown, max daily loss limit. And at the very least, that'll give you a +1 day from account annihilation. Because typically with those unwinds, like a tilt day, typically the whole account is going to be unwound in a single day. So if you can even cut that loss in half, or you can even keep the account into the next day by using some of the lockout features, that's a big win. That's incremental progress right there. So that's typically, without more details, that's some of the better tips that I can give. So NQ right back into, what is that, 320, 25, 320, and just bounces right there again. Yeah, it sounds like you're probably thinking about that high watermark too much, thinking about that payout. That is the bane of many traders' existence right there, thinking about some round number you want to hit. I had that uh when I started out with options and I was trying to hit my first 1K day. I would be at like $900 or like 850, and you just start thinking, you're like, I'm so close to that first 1K day, and you push a little bit, and next thing you know, you're either down substantially, you give back all the profits, or you're red. It's the same psychological thing right there that you're probably experiencing with the payout. You're like, I'm so close to payout. Let me just push a little bit. Once you get close to payout, the mentality should be the opposite of pushing. Should be, let me make sure I don't mess this up. Let me lean off the keys. Let me trade lighter size. So some mentality shifts can really help. And if you've done it, if you've run up accounts repeatedly, it shows you have the skill set to do so. It's just you have some mental block that's associated with that final push. Until yesterday and wasted half your earnings from the week. Yeah. We all been there, man. We all been there. The thing is, after a tilt day, the main thing is to try and not carry that emotional baggage, that heaviness into the next session. That was a big one for me. If I had a tilt day, it tended to be a 2 or 3 day event, because I would just come into the next session still like pissed off, or still carrying some of that baggage. And so the first goal then was, all right, I know a tilt day is like usually a 2 or 3 day event. So my first goal, once I started to recognize this, was to just have it be an isolated day. Just have it be one day. And then the next day try and just stack some base hits, like just try and leave it in the past as best I could. Once you get to that point, you can start to work on actually finding that first domino that falls during a tilt session. And I wouldn't worry about, if you go on tilt, like reviewing all your trades or anything like that. Is kind of pointless. If you're trading in a mentally compromised state, reviewing the trades, there's no point to doing it. What you need to do there is look at what caused the compromised state, how you got to that point, and again, finding some block that's going to help you avoid that point. For me, a big one was always being above daily goal and then taking one more trade, or being close to daily goal and then taking one more trade, and then being taking a loss and then being farther from my daily goal. the mindset, again, just for me, was always like, all right, let me just get back to where I was. And oh man, that has been disastrous for me. So thankfully I don't have that issue anymore, but that led to to so many losses. So if you can find the trigger, you can do a lot to resolve. Yeah, journaling's a big one. Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. Helps to unwind some of the mental threads that we keep in our brain. But ultimately you need, like, journaling alone is a great activity, but it's not going to solve the issue, right? So we need like actionable things to fix. All right, I think that's a wrap for me. NQ so far going nowhere. Sideways action right here between pretty much 300 and 355. I'll stick with my two trades on the morning, on the day, and we'll just close it on a high note. For late morning, because I'm still going to be at the desk for a little bit. So if I end up deploying the prop accounts in anything, it's going to look like action above the overnight high with some market structure based entry, or I'll look down here at 250. That's it. That's all I would consider. That's a wrap on the week. Thank you guys for your time. We'll be live again on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend. Get that review done. Get that weekly review done. Weekly goal setting is huge, and it shouldn't be profit oriented goals like we are just talking about, finding issues within our trading. If you can find some of those recurring habits that are not serving your long-term results, set a weekly goal to just not do whatever action that is. Forget about the P&L. Work on your process. Set process oriented goals, and you'll make very big strides in your trading. P&L is always going to be a lagging indicator for how developed you are as a trader. So you really got to find the bottlenecks in your development, and then again, put in the work. It is work. It is work. It's not glamorous. It is definitely work, but you got to put in the work to resolve those issues. So something to think about this weekend. Anyway, hope you guys had a good one. We will see you on Monday. Take care.